The land had a memory. My grandfather used to say that, standing beneath the mesquite trees with his calloused hands on his hips and sweat running in lines down his brown neck. "This dirt don't forget, boy," he told me once, after showing me the boundary line between our ranch and the newer developments that had started popping up like fungus after the city laid down its promises. "It remembers who takes care of it and who trespasses." I didn't think much of it until years later, when I found myself standing at that same line, now a wrought iron fence, looking at a woman with Botox cheeks and a clipboard full of entitlement. Her name was Karen Wexley, president of the Hidden Canyon Estates Homeowners Association, the kind of a woman who wore high-end athletic wear but had never once jogged. She rolled up in a silver Tesla, license plate Wexley 1, and acted like the West Texas sun bowed down just to shine on her schedule. First time I met her, she stepped right onto my pasture, looked around at my pasture like it was some kind of petting zoo, and said, "You're the one with the horses." No hello, no handshake, just that tone, the kind that treats you like you're the help. I nodded slowly. "I'm the one with the ranch." "Well, the HOA has some concerns," she said, flipping her folder open. "We've had complaints about animal smells, flies, and dust." I tilted my head. "Ma'am, this is a working ranch. It's been here since 1932. Your neighborhood's not even 10 years old." She frowned, like that wasn't the answer she wanted. "Be that as it may, you're adjacent to Hidden Canyon. Property values are sensitive. We'd appreciate if you didn't let your livestock come so close to the perimeter fence." I folded my arms. "You built that fence against my pasture." She blinked. "Excuse me? That fence? It's 6 feet over my property line." She turned beet red and icy cold. She didn't even need the Botox now. "I'll have our lawyers look into that." And that's how it started. At first, it was just cold glares from dog-walking couples on the trail Hidden Canyon had carved along the edge of my land. But then the letters started showing up, one after another. Demands to cease disturbing the HOA community. Accusations of unauthorized structures like my old hay barn, which had stood longer than their cul-de-sacs had existed. One day a man with a clipboard knocked on my door to inspect potential code violations. He didn't like it when I flashed my badge. Chief of Police, 27 years on the force, took the job 2 years back after Rush Sheriff Raines retired. I didn't wear the uniform much these days, but my words still carried weight, especially in this county, especially with the kind of folks who didn't bother learning who their neighbors were before trying to control them. The moment that notice hit their inboxes, Hidden Canyon went into meltdown. Suddenly, they couldn't access their walking path. The shortcut to the creek was blocked off. Karen had to reroute golf cart access from her backyard, adding almost half a mile to her drive. Cue the tantrum. She left me 7 voicemails in one day, threatening lawsuits, demanding a neighborly solution, insisting I was being hostile. Then she made the mistake that set everything else in motion. She called 911. "Hello, this is Karen Wexley. I'm the president of Hidden Canyon Estates, and I'm dealing with an aggressive trespasser situation. He's blocking community access. We need immediate police response. There are children involved." Children, trespasser, aggression. It was just the kind of words that get dispatchers moving, especially when they think they're heading into a volatile situation. But that night, the call came to me. I was at the station late, reviewing personnel reports, when the operator's voice came over the radio. "Unit requesting response to a potential disturbance at Hidden Canyon perimeter. Caller claims unlawful barricading by adjacent property owner. Suspect is..." She paused.
the landowner." I picked up the line. "This is Chief McCall. Patch me through." There was a click, then her voice, shrill, high-strung, and certain the world bent around her HOA regulations. "I demand an officer be sent immediately. He's hostile and armed. He has a gate and livestock right up against where our residents walk their dogs." "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this is Chief McCall. I'm the landowner in question." Dead silence. "Are you joking?" "No, ma'am. I'd recommend you end this call before you escalate further. The path was removed due to verified trespass. The easement has been legally revoked. You are not entitled to access my property." "This is outrageous," she snapped, voice shaking now. "You can't be both the landowner and the police chief." I smiled. "Turns out I can. And you just tried to weaponize 911 against a law-abiding property owner. That's a crime in this county." The call ended with a strangled noise on her end. I didn't arrest her that night, but I started documenting everything, every complaint, every camera, every instance of her stepping over the line. I had no intention of letting it slide anymore. A week later, she would turn to the edge of my fence, this time with a full HOA board behind her. 5 of them, all dressed like they were headed to a suburban war. They tried to serve me with a cease and desist letter. I served them right back, with a notice of civil.
But what she didn't realize was I wasn't just a man with land. I was a man with records. And her HOA had skeletons, buried deep. You can always tell when someone's never been told no before. They don't know what to do with it. They flail, they scheme, they double down so hard they tunnel straight to their own downfall. Karen Wexley was a woman who built her world out of manicured illusion. Fake concern wrapped in fake laws enforced by fake authority. But all illusion has one thing in common: it doesn't hold up under pressure. And I was about to turn up the pressure until the whole HOA fantasy buckled like a discount deck in a Texas storm. See, after she filed that harassment suit against me, I took a little trip down to county records. Not many folks know this, but HOAs are like mini governments. They can issue fines, enforce rules, even slap liens on homes. But they're only as strong as the paperwork they're built on. And Hidden Canyon? Turns out they'd been playing fast and loose with a lot of things. Turns out Karen's HOA had expired its registration with the Texas Secretary of State 2 years prior. That meant legally, they didn't exist. Every fine they'd issued, invalid. Every violation they'd claimed, unenforceable. Every document they'd mailed to me, trash. But I wasn't done. I filed a formal complaint to the Attorney General's office for unlicensed operation of a homeowners association and potential misappropriation of community funds. The cherry on top? A full audit request. The hammer fell 3 weeks later. The audit uncovered that Karen had been using HOA dues to pay for landscaping on her own property. Tens of thousands of dollars spent annually on private improvements labeled as community upgrades. Front yard hedges charged as entrance beautification. Her pool maintenance listed as HOA amenity testing. And worst of all, security cameras billed to the HOA, but installed solely around her own home. The fallout came fast. 4 board members resigned in one day. One of them, a younger guy named Devin, who'd always looked like he regretted wearing loafers, came straight to my porch and apologized. "I thought we were just helping the neighborhood. She ran everything behind closed doors. We didn't see the invoices until it was too late." I told him I appreciated the honesty. He nodded and left, his clipboard noticeably absent this time. Karen, however, wasn't going quietly. She tried to spin the audit as a targeted smear campaign, claimed I'd used my position to intimidate and manipulate the process.
even filed a complaint with internal affairs at the station. That's where she made her third and final mistake. Because I'd already recused myself from every part of the HOA investigation. Every document had been passed through an independent task force. The audit had been handled by a state-certified firm out of Austin. I'd even forwarded all legal communications through my private attorney, not my badge. Internal Affairs laughed her complaint out of the room. But I wasn't laughing. Not yet. Because she hadn't suffered enough. See, Karen's greatest sin wasn't the misuse of funds. It wasn't the trespassing, the cameras, or the false 911 report. It was what she tried to do to my father.
Dad's 82. Lives in the old ranch house, about 100 yards from mine. Spends most of his time fishing in the back pond or feeding the horses with his old blue hat on crooked. One afternoon, I found him sitting quiet on the porch, lips tight. "What's wrong?" I asked. He handed me a piece of paper. It was a violation notice, addressed to Ranch Parcel Number 12, claimed his building facade violated approved exterior color codes for Hidden Canyon Estates, ordered him to return the property to its original color within 14 days or face daily fines. They tried to fine my father for the color of a barn built in 1955? That was the last straw. I didn't just want Karen removed. I wanted her dismantled. Reputation, power, legacy. I wanted her name to be spoken in whispers at community meetings like some suburban Voldemort. So I called a friend of mine in Austin, works in media. We pulled together every document, every email, every voicemail she left. Photos of her pool getting cleaned on HOA funds, security cam footage showing her screaming at my ranch hand, the 911 call itself, public record now. And then we ran a story. HOA president accused of fraud, targeted harassment, police chief at center of HOA power struggle. It ran in every paper from Dallas to El Paso. Local news picked it up first, then national HOA forums, then a segment on a Sunday morning talk show that mocked Karen's obsession with neighborhood order like she was a cartoon villain in yoga pants. That's when the real punishment hit. The bank froze the HOA account pending legal investigation. Karen's personal residence, illegally enhanced by community funds, was now subject to restitution. Civil lawsuits began piling up. Residents demanded refunds. A group of angry homeowners created an emergency vote and dissolved the entire HOA. Karen lost everything. The Tesla, repossessed. The house, under lien. The clipboard, God only knows. But the most poetic part came later. I was driving through town one morning picking up feed when I saw her, Karen, standing outside the county courthouse with a cardboard sign. Not begging. No, that'd require humility. She was holding a petition. It read, "Save Hidden Canyon Estates, reinstate our HOA." No one stopped, not one person. She saw me through my truck window. I waved. She looked away. Later that week I got a letter, no return address, just my name in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single line. "I didn't know who you were. I should have." I burned it without a second thought. Now Hidden Canyon's just a neighborhood like any other. No HOA, no power-hungry tyrants. People walk their dogs past my ranch and wave. Kids ride bikes along the edge of the pasture again. My dad paints the barn whatever color he damn well pleases. And the land? The land remembers. It remembers the woman who tried to tame a place older than her entire HOA. It remembers the fight, the trespass, the lies, and it remembers who protected it. Because some people are just ranchers, but me, I'm the chief. And in this county, when justice rides up your driveway, sometimes it's on horseback.